So our last speaker is another very highly anticipated speaker. A lot of people are really on the edge of their seats. They're leaning forward for this one. It is Elif Firat. Did I say it right finally?
Kind of.
Almost. And she is going to give us a kind of survey talk, actually a literature survey talk. And it's called Towards a Survey of Interactive Visualization for Education.
So thank you. I just need to read this.
We can see the toolbar.
If you press see the presentation, it might appear.
I can't see my mouse.
It's on the left. Is it left?
I can't see the mouse on the screen.
It's on your screen now.
Any Windows experts here?
It's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine. Yeah, I managed. Yeah,
No,
thank
no.
you.
You need to mirror the display.
No, you can. If you just press play presentation, it should work.
Oh, okay.
There we go.
Good. Okay. Hello everyone, my name is Elif Firat. I'm doing PhD in Swansea University. So today I'm going to introduce you my beautiful work in progress survey of interactive visualization for education. So first of all, I would like to start with giving an outline today what I'm going to explain you about my survey. So I will introduce my survey and talk about motivation, and I'm going to talk about what were the difficulties during writing this survey, and I'm going to talk about our scope and how we found the paper we reviewed in this survey, and how we classify them, and I'm going to talk about a related work we talk about in this paper as well. So at the end, I'm going to show two beautiful examples from our surveys, and I will finalize this presentation with explaining our future work. So as we know that visualization methods playing a key role simplifying and conveying a complex system. So the use of advanced and interactive visualization tool is growing, and they're becoming integral part of educational processes. So visualization tools assess pedagogical processes, and implementation can be extremely helpful for all types of users, such as lecturers or students. So therefore, surveys are beneficial solution to examine previously completed experiments and extract useful information for education. And while writing this survey, we had some challenges. First of all, finding the relevant literature was a challenge for us, but we found some papers. And we also, that in these papers there are some technologies used, so evaluating the effectiveness of this target technologies on increasing the user's understanding was another challenge for us. So if we are talking about our scope, our survey reviews interactive visualization system for enhancing education and cognition. So we choose studies that focus on teaching and understanding of a material in classroom or distance education system with the help of interactive visualization techniques. So after that, our scope is also examine how the work studies the effects of interactive visualization techniques to educate trainees. So I explained what was our scope, what was challenges, and I'm going to explain how we found the paper we review in this survey. So we had some keywords. These are education, classroom, learning, understanding, interpretation, and of course visualization. So where we search these keywords, we use IEEE Wiz Conference paper, IEEE Explore, Google Scholar, Wizbook data, and Eurographic education papers and digital library, ACM digital library, like information visualization journal library, and at the end we look for related work section of review paper in this survey. So the beautiful part of our surveys is we classify each paper we review in this survey. So we have 3 categories. These are evaluation method of the target technologies in the papers. So these are classroom, control user study, and case study. And the other subject categories are algorithm cognition, perception, anatomy and medicine, engineering, teaching visualization, and so on. So we have this classification table, and so we can show people that mature and immature areas. So researcher can focus on this table, and they can find which topic they can work on for future. So that's why this table help researcher to find out their paths for future. So related work, there are one related work provided by Firat et al. This paper presents 10 previous visualization systems in computer science education, concentrating on the projects that have a positive educational impacts. So this related work also review some visualization techniques in this paper. These are some examples from this system in this survey paper. And also we can look for this paper to have a good idea for our study. And at the beginning I mentioned that I'm going to show some example from the paper we reviewed for our survey. The first one is called bulk.io, which is provided by Schwab et al. This technology is a web-based environment. So this technology provides lecture slides, books, book chapters, and videos. So course creators can begin by adding parent concepts. You can see the parent concepts here at the beginning, and then you can creator can add child concepts here, and dependencies are drawn from point to point. The connections are drawing like that. At the end, we can see the final dependency graph represents learning plan in their learning perspective. So this is one of the beautiful visualization techniques used for education, and we review this paper. And the other visualization technologies we drive the paper we use for our survey. And this is Wistrail. It's called Wistrail. It is developed as a teaching scientific visualization environment. Wistrail assists research on the computational tasks such as data analysis and visualization. So here, as an example visualization in this image, studying celestial structure. This one derived from cosmological simulation. So as we can see that each node here representing a workflow, and they can create a unique visualization from these nodes. And students can benefit from this detailed provenance in example to prepare themselves and more easily understand their task required of them during their courses. And at the end, I would like to talk about our future work. So, as I said before, this is a work in progress survey paper. So, I'm still working on this, and I'm adding more papers. We are reviewing new papers. So, we will include more related literature, and then we will develop our classification further. And of course, we will add more comparative metadata to enhance our survey paper. And that's all. Thank you.
You mentioned there was some metadata you were going to look at with the extended version. Do you
Yes.
have anything in mind?
Yes, and I put extra slides to show my updated version of my classification table. It's here. When I submit this paper, we had only 10 paper included the classification paper, but it's, sorry, it was 13, now it's 23 papers in this table right now. So we add a new column, which is a new evaluation method of the visualization technologies in the paper, which is crowdsourcing. And then we also add a new classification, and we look paper, and this paper useful for who? Like teacher or student or both of them. So as we can see here, for example, this paper just used by a teacher, like for teaching a material during the class. Or for example, if I find this visualization used by teacher and students, so they can use for learning and material, or a material, or teacher can use this material to teach, use this technology to teach material. So, and I'm still working on it, like we are still working on it, and we will enhance it by the time. Yeah.
Any other questions? I have a question. Where did the columns come from? Like, how did you decide on those columns? Like, why those columns?
Yeah, thank you for this question. This table is very important for our survey. First of all, like we search our keywords, like I explained slides at the beginning, if you remember. So we search these keywords, and we found out some papers, and we review them, and we create some recurring themes. And by the time we try to identify and we emerge these recurring themes, and we wrote down all of them, and those turn into these categories. And for, like, this is y-axis, and for x-axis, like we know that there are some experiments to evaluate effectiveness of the technologies given in these papers. So we just try to identify how did evaluate their papers, and then we find out that some of them use classroom or control user study or case study. So and we can see that, like, how people evaluate their technologies, what kind of evaluation method they use, so we can see, we can have an outcome by looking this table to understand. Yeah.
Good. Any other questions for Elif? Can you tell me again how the proper pronunciation of your name? Just for fun.
Elif.
Elif, I think I got that part. Elif.
Good. Firat.
Firat.
Yes.
Firat. So it's the second syllable a little bit is the emphasis, because I said Firat, but it's Firat.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
It's fine.
Good. Any other important questions? Okay, let's thank our speaker again. Still practicing 2 years.
No,
The name pronunciation.
totally fine.
So that's the end of this outstanding paper session. The next session, so to speak, is the conference social event, which is at a restaurant called the Paddy Raj. Does anybody not know where the Paddy Raj is? I guess all the Swansea, Wales people know where that is. But for the people that are not familiar with the Paddy Raj, if you can imagine where you are now in the city center, there is a road that connects Swansea University to the city center. Well, maybe there's more than one, along the waterfront. It's called Oystermouth Road. And if you walk along that road, it's about halfway to the city center along Oystermouth Road. That's one way to get to it. It's the simplest way, I would say, for somebody that's visiting. So everything's meant to be convenient. You can walk there. It would take 10 minutes. If you know the way already, it takes 10 minutes. But if you don't know the way already, it might take 20. Yeah, so you give yourself 20 minutes time to walk there. And that will start at around 18:45, more or less. And you don't really need anything special. It would be good maybe if you had your name badge. And it's going to be a very special meeting today. Okay, I'd like to just thank all the speakers one more time. Behave yourselves.
Tinos, are there any marking with it?
Yes, there's the Brynamore, is the Brynamore on the way?
Beyond it. Maybe that's faster.
Or the Riddings?
Riddings will be on the way.
Yeah, it's a bit
Riddings, Fonzie's the best one in the area, that's further.